Luca Nation, welcome back to episode 561 of Lucas Tigers and Browns podcast. Crazy to even think that we've done that many, but I'm very fortunate, I'm very lucky. I have an amazing friend, co-host, business partner to navigate this crazy journey of business life and the hobby with. So, and you guys, the audience, we love you. We appreciate all the comments, the feedback in the Discord or on our Instagram posts, all of that. Thank you. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Really nice day to reflect, right? It's cool. These 3-day weekends, you get a chance to kind of reflect, spend some extra time with family. So I've got a few things to talk about, a little NBA. I couldn't have done worse on NFL weekend if I possibly tried. Anything that you want to talk about, Cage? I mean,
you were right about the Niners. I mean, you said the Niners were going to win the game, not just make a game of it. You said they were going to win the game, and the one thing that surprised me the most about the NFL was just how much the refs seem to play a role in the narrative. I don't think that really mattered too much. Obviously, as a Raider fan, we can talk about the ghost whistle, and if you're a Cowboy fan, you're probably seething today about the ref not getting the ball down to give him enough of a chance. But notice the common thread there for Cowboy fans and Raider fans. They were losing. They were in a position where it's Hail Mary time. You know what I mean? And you want to have somebody to blame. Your team didn't perform, and all of a sudden it's the ref's fault. Chances are the Raiders, lose that game no matter what. The refs even it up in the second half with other calls. Same thing with the Cowboys. I mean, come on. Let's say you got the ball down with 1 second. You're snapping the ball in a hurry from 30 yards out. It's not exactly, dream scenario. It wasn't exactly like a winning play was taken away from you. It was still, darn close to what you would refer to as Hail Mary territory for that one. I got a question.
Penalties, Cage.
What do you think of the
Cowboys?
I mean, listen, you'll notice there's a common trend there. The teams that lost were the teams that turned the ball over, and the teams that had the penalties or the untimely penalties. It's kind of what happens, man. In the playoffs, defense matters more, run game matters more, clock management matters more, mistakes matter more. And if you're going to be the team that commits more penalties, and you're going to be the team that turns the ball over, you're going to be the team that loses. So. There's a simple recipe to that, right? Win the turnover battle, don't make mistakes, don't get penalized, and momentum and drives don't get stalled and stopped, and you end up probably winning the game. What do you think? What do you think about an expanded playoffs? You think we now had 6 games this weekend, what used to be 4. We'll see just how much of an advantage the Packers and the Titans have as the only one team to have a bye, basically have a week off in the playoffs from each conference. What do you think about this? You think it's a good thing, a bad thing? I may have lost you there. So I'll just answer what I think about it. I think that it's a little bit of an expansion. I heard some people complaining today about it and saying that it's bad football. And that the reason why we had so many blowout type games was because of this expanded playoffs. And, a 2-7 kind of matchup just is going to always have a garbage type of a game, which is, what you saw here from the, from that Chiefs-Steelers game. I mean, that wasn't really, competitive in the stretch. The second quarter looked like it might be competitive. When the Steelers were up 7-0 and Kansas City couldn't move the ball, look competitive. But, we had 2 pretty lopsided games. What are your thoughts, man? What do you think about the extended playoffs? You like it? You don't like it? Think it made
First off, guys, I want to apologize. So I'm in a new house. My family's visiting for vacation, so tonight's the last night. If you're experiencing any internet technical difficulties, I sincerely apologize. It's equally as frustrating to me as it is for you guys, and I'll do better. So I apologize for that. I don't mind the extended playoffs. And Cage, I honestly don't agree with the whole refs thing with the Cowboys. I thought that was one of the stupidest play calls I've ever seen in my entire life, to run the ball with 15 seconds left. Your margin of error is tiny, and you get the same result. And what it actually told me is Dak can't throw the ball down the field. That's what I kind of took away from that, Cage.
I mean, there's a better likelihood of being able to throw the ball to multiple people and actually run a play from, the 25 or 30 than there is from the 50. And I think that was what they were counting on, right? There was enough time
You really
if
think so?
everything went. Yeah. I mean, look, there was, I think when they got up there 4 seconds, you don't practice the ref running into you. You don't practice, I mean, they probably should have been smarter. Dak and his center have to hand the ball to the ref, the umpire, so that he can spot the ball. You don't spot it yourself. That doesn't count. You can't just spot the ball. You're not a ref. But yeah, I mean, listen, honestly, when they ran it as it was going on, I was watching the game. I was surprised. I was like, the clock's going to run out. The clock's going to run out. But these guys, they run that drill. You know what I mean? They do. They know how much time there is. They know how much time
You think
it
so?
takes. Yeah, 100%. Because, I mean, look, if you go back to the last Raider series, it's 1st and goal and there's like 20-something seconds left. They get up there and they clock the ball and lose a play. And then they run 3 plays and there's still like 15 seconds left on the clock when the game ends, when their 4th down play comes up short. They wound up, costing themselves a play by clocking it. They shouldn't have done that. There were no first downs. They obviously were going to take 4 shots. They should have taken 4 shots at the end zone. There's a lot of clock management stuff that goes into this. And, it's crazy. People are running all over the place at the end of the game there. That whole team was set. The Dallas Cowboy team was set. It's one of those things where they'll tell you they've run it a bunch of times and they know how much time they have. But I'm sure when they run it in practice, they're not factoring in the tailing umpire who's 20 yards behind the play and has to get there to spot the ball. Now I guess they got to work that into their equation when they run that play in practice. But yeah, I mean,
man, I think with McCarthy, this is consistent thread. The Cowboys are quite unprepared. And like you saw, they had 2 false start penalties in a row and then a sack. So like how often does that happen? But back to your question, the extended playoffs don't bother me. I think it's just like a small sample size to see that you're saying all the games weren't interesting. And some people are saying it's because of the extended playoffs. But I don't think that's the case. I really don't think that's the case.
All right. Well, I mean, that's the question. You found the games to be entertaining, even though there was, an extension of playoffs. I guess we'll see what happens. If it turns out to be the Titans against the Packers in the Super Bowl, a lot of people will argue that they got an excessive benefit by being the only team that got, the number 1 seed. I mean, all these teams were playing under the same rules. Everybody knew what they were playing for during the season. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm excited. I love football playoffs. And as we're recording this, the Rams are playing the Cardinals later to finalize this wild card weekend. So I guess we'll see what happens there, and we'll know what's set for next week. That should be fun.
Well, Cage, I didn't find them entertaining, but I don't think it's just because of the extended playoffs. Like you could have non-extended playoffs and also blowout games. It's just like how it played out. Some of the matchups. I mean, who would have thought that the Bills would have played so well against the Patriots? Like they met 3 times.
Everyone but you.
Then I'm consistently wrong. What can I say?
No, you like the Patriots this year, but I mean, the thing about it is the Patriots, towards the end of the year, they tailed off. And it's very difficult to win a playoff game with a rookie quarterback. I mean, talking about like you need to have one hell of a defense, and they have a great defense. But I mean, you're talking about even I think, in the last 20 years, you're only talking about like 4 or 5 rookie quarterbacks that even got to play playoff games. It just doesn't happen in the NFL because for a team to be, playing with a rookie quarterback, usually they weren't that good the year before. I mean, you're talking about like Mark Sanchez. You're talking about like Robert Griffin III. I think maybe Andrew Luck might have been in that list. But I mean, there's not that many rookie quarterbacks that go and play playoff games and win. So it's difficult. Well, I mean, just to play the guys I named them. I think Sanchez might have been one of the few that won a game, but it really wasn't on his arm. It was on his defense, So it's just, I mean, it's a difficult thing, I mean, being there matters. I know Mac Jones has played some, pretty amazing college games, and he's been through some, pressure situations. But, NFL playoffs is an entirely different scenario. So
I love it. Cage, we didn't get a chance, I don't know if you saw, like, there's that whole PSA scandal going on with Mark's cards. We didn't get a chance to talk about that because we had the collectible fractional show yesterday, and we don't want to talk about it then. We had a really weird negative week in sports cards. I'm optimistic, and I don't really want to talk about it too much in the sense that we are our separate entity, and we're not related in any way, shape, or form to these other businesses, and either is our community, right? We love our community. We really just lean into that. is there anything you want to say? Is there anything that kind of rubbed you the wrong way? You've been in the space for 4 decades now.
It's always here. It's always here. It's something like this is always here, right? I mean, it really does extend on the conversation we had last week, where when there's money involved, people take shortcuts. And it appears that what's going on with one of the PSA graders is that they took money from the people who sent cards in to grade with them. I don't know the story. I've never worked with them, so I mean, this is a third hand, guys. Hearsay up the wazoo. So take it from where it's coming from and what it's worth. But from what I've heard is that these cards are being graded by PSA. They're ready to be picked up by PSA. PSA has not been paid for them yet, despite the fact that the people who sent them into this subber paid already. So the subber is not paying for them. The subber does not have the money. I don't know what the subber used the money for, but it appears that there is a disconnect there between the end user and PSA, and that there are a bunch of folks who have cards sitting at PSA graded and not paid for, even though they've already paid someone for them. Does that surprise me? Sure, it surprises me. But, we're at a point in the hobby where it's sad to say, I mean, nothing really surprises me, right? When we have people putting G.I. Joe packs in sealed boxes, right? You got, you got that kind of craziness. You got people, doing group subs and not sending the money on, not having the money to pay for the cards. It's really tough because, look, one of the things we talk about here is that the hobby only grows, pricing only grows, cards only continue to go up in value if more and more people come in, and the demand is continuing to come in. And how do you continue to bring in demand for the product? How do you bring in new people to the hobby? I mean, think about it, right? If you were at a holiday with family and you were sitting there talking to them and saying, hey, come join this hobby I'm in, I love it. I got these people who are getting ripped off on this end, and I got this people who are getting ripped off on this end. It's ripe with fraud. It's like a minefield that you got to navigate. How do you really, in good conscience, bring somebody into it? And that's a tough ask, right? I'm sure that it's like this everywhere, right? I'm sure it's like this all over the place. The NFT space has plenty of problems too, and sneakers can be faked, and ticket stubs are faked. I get people messaging me all the time now saying, hey, ticket stubs, I heard these are real. I bought these 5 messy ticket stubs, last year. How do I know if they're real? I mean, there's the same kind of, issue all over the place, I believe. But it seems like in cards, it's happening a lot more recently. And you've said it, that this is the kind of stuff that pops its head up, when the money is not as easy to make as it was 6 months or a year ago. And that's it's a little scary. A little scary for for long-term, hobby participation. New phone stand here, and it kind of got knocked over there. Sorry about that, folks.
They never get what you ask them for.
But what's funny is you now know at least I'm wearing pants when I record these. So, it fell over. I was like, bottomless over here, like a Zoom meeting. You'd know.
One of my favorite things is when I'm feeling like, because dude, I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't hit recently. Like my NFTs haven't done well, my cards haven't done well, my betting hasn't done well. So I also feel it. And sometimes in life, and Cage, tell me if you agree with this, like you got to take a step back, but sometimes it's willpower too. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like just putting your head down and learning. And one of the things I go to is more mindset than like specifically cards. And I wanted to jump on here and recommend a YouTube video to people if they're so interested. So it's a 4-hour video.
Whoa!
And it's called
it's
called Your Best Year Ever by Jim Rohn. Let me see how it's spelled. Jim Rohn. American kind of. He was like the prequel to Tony Robbins and all the kind of self-help gurus, so to speak. Highly recommend it. It's 4-hour video. It's just if you're looking for a little bit of a pivot or how to change your life or how to have the best year of your life, I go back to this video every single year, usually right around January, to kind of pick out bits and pieces and nuggets. I'll also do another fun thing, Cage. So you and I, we bought about, I think it was we bought 60 of the Gary Vee books. Okay, and I'm reading it now, and it's like, what he credits his 12 12 and a half is what it's called. 12 kind of recipes for what had made him successful. It's gratitude, perspective, all these things. If you guys are out there, and also kind of in this place where, like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm not a fortune teller, but if you want to learn and better yourself like me, we have 60 of them. How about this, Cage?
Mm-hmm.
First come, first serve. I'll give 10 of them away. If you guys just shoot me an email at I am Andrew Goldberg at gmail.com. Let's give 10 of those books away, Cage. People listening, maybe if you really want to read something, if you really want to change your life, I really like the book. I'm about the third of the way through. Shoot me an email. I'll take care of everything. I'll pay for shipping. I just want you guys to have the desire to learn and better yourselves. And if that's you and you're on the other end, send me an email, send me a DM. I'll make it happen for you guys. Okay.
Very nice. Very nice. Those big corporations such as yourself giving back to the community. Doesn't take that much. Look at you.
It really doesn't take that much. It really doesn't take that much.
Look at you. It's not. So, I mean, it's and listen, if everybody did something like that, all of a sudden the week that was in the hobby that's all negative turns into something a little more positive, right? People helping people out. Maybe people who get the book pass it on to somebody else. Maybe they give it to somebody else to read. Who the heck knows? But yeah, I mean, listen, it's negative sometimes sells, right? And it becomes a little bit of a louder story, right? You have this whole crazy kaboom thing, right, that we talked about with Backyard. I was on Twitter today and I saw the guy who got the card posted, "Hey, I got the card." I don't know if it was the one who was supposed to win it or what the story is, but he tweeted, he's like, "Hey, I've been the first one to yell at Backyard Breaks. I was the first one to talk crap about them, but here it is. They followed through. I got the card, and there's a picture of it, and I think it has like 17 likes. There's no fanfare about it. There's no, wow, look at this. Hey, the kid got his card, or he's got not a lot of followers. This person looks like just somebody who got the. I have no idea if this is one of the friends. I have no clue, but it looks like the card was given away, and it got in the hands of the person who was supposed to get it, and yet nobody cares. Right, so we're very loud with the negative and the story, right? And we're not as loud with the conclusion, when it's not as fantastic, right? The negative sometimes, it's much cooler and much more retweeted. That's just one little fun one that that's out there, right? The Dallas story.
How much of that, Cage, though, is?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the same thing for like the Dallas story, which I don't know the facts of either, but there was a huge post, right? Carpool and posted video, this person getting arrested and stuff. And it turns out, I guess the cards were real. I mean, right now, 90% of the world just saw the first video, which is somebody getting arrested for having fake cards and trying to rip people off. But it turns out that they weren't fake. I guess it's, it's a lot easier to be, negative than it is to be positive, right? So
I'm curious, how much of that is our demo, though? Like, if you think about it, right, most of the hobby is men, and most of the hobby is kind of men 25 to 55. And men love to pick fights.
Well, that's part of it. And I mean, listen, let me take it from my own perspective, right? I mean, we sit here and we talk at people, for a while about how, it's not as easy to make money. And you know what? I'm sure that the vast majority of people listening to us say, okay, well, what should we be doing about that? Right. And yet sometimes we don't really have the answers. I mean, we've been talking about this ourselves, right? I mean, Andrew will tell you, the card plays haven't been working. The NFT plays haven't been working. I mean, even the stuff that I thought was going to be great long-term holds, I got rid of. And all of a sudden now they're good again. I mean, the timing has been bad. We all kind of take our L's. Andrew, you gave me a quote. Some smart person, you texted it to me. Some smart person told you. It was, basically I'll paraphrase it and get it wrong, but it was something to the extent of, when everything's going great, it's really hard to imagine it not going so great. It's hard to imagine a lean time. And when things are going poorly, when things are lean, when you're hitting a bunch of L's in a row, it's hard to imagine it ever really getting better and being good again. But it always does, right? It always does flip-flop, But when you're in the middle of it, when you're in the middle of that high, it's hard to plan for that low. It's hard to, think that it ever going to happen because everything's just hitting. Everything's just winning. And when you're in that low, it's very easy to fall into that whole, well, I'm never going to win again. I'm an idiot. Everything I do is wrong. You will climb out of that. It's just very hard to see while you're in the middle of that. That's a smart person who said that. I don't know who it is, but it's a smart person. I need to pay attention to that a little more often.
Okay,
So
not only do I pay attention to that, I'm this sick guy. I repeat it to myself. I start to control my thoughts when things like I try to find things that I'm on a winning streak. I've talked about this because you're right. You start to get in the self-perpetuating cycle of like I'm an idiot. I'm finding I really, really get conscious about like it'll get better. It'll get better. It's not always going to be like this. Just find the next one. Just find the next win. And I'll tell you what I think is the next win. I'll get right into my play. So Durant actually went out with MCL injury.
Yep.
4 to 6 weeks. He's injured. It's crazy. So I think Harden, Kyrie, and Durant, they've played, I think, 113 games together. They've only played 16. They were on the same court together. So 113 games they've been on the Nets. 16 of those, they've all been on the court together, all three of them. This is not a play on Durant. This is a play on buy the dip, sell into the hype. Okay, so I still am a believer in this Nets team, but not that they're going to win the finals. I believe that they're going to have their run. When all three of them are playing, that they go on that 10, 15 game winning streak. They're just too talented not to. In this middle of the season, you kind of notice if you watch NBA, no one cares. No one cares. Not in the sense that they don't play hard. It's just they don't really care about the games as much. When you start getting March, April, and get into seeding, that's when it matters. So I think Durant's going to miss the All-Star break. He'll probably come back in March. The card I would take a look at his market in general, but the card I would take a look at is his 2007 Topps Chrome PSA 10. Now, I haven't given a high price card in a while, but let's look at this one. So this is his PSA 10. You have the lowest price of 5,500, but the alt value is 3,000. Okay, 3,073. 991 PSA 10s. But if we just take a look, Cage, at its high, this card was 4x, 4 times the value last February. Just recently, this was a $5,000 card. Even after the market fell off, all that stuff, this was $5,000 in a PSA 10. Okay, October 22nd. And it's just been dropping. And if you look here, my slabs, someone took an offer for 3,200. Here's an auction for 3,000. Here's another auction for 3,000. I wouldn't be surprised if you could get this card for 2,500, 2,200. If you pick your spots, I think you could get this card for in the 2,000 range. And I think it's going to return to the 5,000 range. I really do. Because they're going to be contending. It's Durant. It has all that stuff. I don't imagine this card to go any further than $2,000, any lower than $2,000 during this season, in the offseason in May. I think it's a card that, you buy one or two of them, you have an opportunity to flip this when he does return to action, whether that's in 6-8 weeks. If this is out of your price range, you could take a look. Maybe the PSA 9s have behaved similar. Maybe you could get into a refractor in a lower grade. I just think right now people aren't going to want to hold his card for 8 weeks as he's recovering from injury. Even before that, his market was down, and you may have an opportunity to kind of get in on Durant pretty cheap. And if you're a Durant guy, might be a good opportunity for you in general if you're a long-term holder.
I like it. I definitely do. So I have a play, but it's I'm gonna need your help with it, right? Because this will be a fun little back and forth, right? Because I'm trying to go a little deep into the well, maybe is a good way of saying it, right? One where maybe people can have some fun with it. Maybe it's something nobody's really buying, and real low risk, but potential for a reward on it if it plays out. But it could be worth nothing, And you are a basketball guy. You guys, basketball. You know it pretty well, and what I noticed is sometimes a little bit of hype moves things, a little performance moves things. But we saw the Cam Reddish trade and what that did to his card values. I mean, they rocketed, and it's because maybe he'll get some playing time now. He was stuck there. They had too many wing players over in Atlanta, and he wasn't really getting an opportunity to play. I think he asked out. He gets to play now with RJ Barrett, his college teammate. Maybe the Knicks will give him some run, maybe. But the thought is, even before he, got a chance, even before he went out there and played, the value of his cards just skyrocketed because the situation was good for him. And yet, and here's where it gets fun, and you tell me, the other side of the trade is where I want to look right now. I want to look at Kevin Knox. And he just may be a complete and total dud. And I'll just start off by saying that completely total dud. He may not get any playing time in Atlanta at all, right? But it's worth looking at, right? Because obviously Atlanta traded for him and potentially getting a protected first-round pick, protected 1-18, the Hornets pick that the Knicks owned, you name it, right? And they're trying to shake stuff up and get something. Most people think the Knicks won that trade. And the reason why people think the Knicks won that trade is because obviously, Knox was a nobody for them. And people think Knox is a nobody, period. But just like Reddish, and it's funny because think about this for a second, right? Reddish wasn't doing much for Atlanta because he was in a logjam situation. People are valuing this trade because they think Reddish can now play more on the Knicks and show everyone who he really is. But how quickly we forget, right, that Kevin Knox, rookie year, where he averaged 12.8 points, 4.5 rebounds, an assist, better than half a steal in 28 minutes per game. When he got a chance to play, he was putting up numbers. He was playing well. He was a good shooter. He was playing a good game. But when they signed Julius Randle, the team just went in a completely different direction, right? They were get the ball to Randle and let Randle do his thing. Knox, there was no more room for him to play anymore. His court time diminished. You could almost forget that he was on that team. And the tough part, of course, is right now in Atlanta, he's sort of still a man without a role. Although I think that he's going to get legit minutes with their second team. I think he's going to have the ability to show whether or not that rookie year, which, by the way, he's a 2018 rookie, right? A 2018 rookie. It's somebody who, is not
years old.
20. He's 22, right? And let's tell you what my thought process going into this is, right? So number one, I read some great articles about the kid character-wise. And I'm a big fan of investing in character-wise. I mean, he just donated a huge amount of money to his high school in Tampa, and they're building the Kevin Knox field house, basically. Like they're putting a whole gym together, like clubhouse, you name it, for his high school. Not for a college, for his high school. And everybody talks about him as a character guy, a family guy, good parents, you name it. His dad just took a shot at Tibbs, saying, that his son was a Rolls Royce that has no miles on and stuff like that. But good for him. You stick up for your son when you think your son's a talent. And it showed when he got a chance. It showed that he was good. I remember, in 2018, if you were ahead of the curve on this stuff, people were buying Luka. People were buying Trey. People were buying, from that 2018. People were buying Ayton, definitely. But people were looking for Kevin Knox. People were looking for Kevin Knox. When you hit a Kevin Knox out of there, people were excited. He played Summer League and he had good numbers in 2018, and then he just disappeared. And part of that is because he was on the Knicks, and it's why the Reddish, craziness is, fever pitch before he even get all, even laced him up for the Knicks. But my thought is, what if Knox has a chance now? You know what his last couple of Prism PSA 10 silvers sold for? I mean, he sold, a month and a half ago.
$30, $20,
$15 for PSA 10 silvers. I mean, they're available $25, $30, or best offer all over eBay. I mean, you're talking about, then this is not a base. That's a base silver PSA 10. Like, that's a PSA 10 silver, right? And, I mean, what does it really take for that card to double to $50, to $40, right? What does it take? One injury? They're rumored to be trading John Collins, perhaps. I mean, yeah, you went a different way. You went with the optic gold, and you can go any way you want on these because look at that, $134 for his rookie gold Prism auto out of 10. $134. You want to talk about like low risk, high reward, right? I mean, this
really
is
high reward.
I mean, potential. You're the basketball guy, so I'm going to rely on you to kind of take this one home for me. But this is one of those things, right, where you can have a little fun with it. And you can still find, hey, I was right? I was right on this guy. and it didn't cost me anything. 134. If that was Reddish right now, what would that be? Thousands of dollars, right? If it was
For
any of
sure.
these legitimate guys, this is just one of those where maybe they move him. Maybe he's not on that team next year. Who knows, right? And maybe he's got a chance. This is a 22-year-old guy who has shown when he got a chance in the league that he can play. And I think he's going to get a chance to play now because, what's the guy's name? Shank, the Atlanta Hawks guy. This is like the first move that he made. He was the first one to make the move here. Obviously, he's talking more about the draft pick because his analytics say that over the next 4 years, there's a 90% chance that actually turns into a first-round pick. And maybe it's something that they can use to make more deals. Who the heck knows? But I looked at that and I was like, all right, I was shocked at how high the Reddish cards went, right? But what's the difference? Reddish was in a log jam and people thought, okay, he can play. Reddish was what? He was the 10th player taken. What was Knox? Wasn't Knox 9th or something? I mean, Knox was an early pick also. So, am I telling you now, guys, that it's going to work? No, there's no 100%. If it was 100%, you wouldn't be able to buy the card Andrew just showed you for $100 or the Prism Silvers for $15 or $13, right? But is there a chance that he turns around? 100%, right? I mean, can he be a great, sixth man? Can he be good off the bench and carve out a role and be worth more than $13 and then turn? He's 22 years old, right? I mean, so anyway, I'm curious what your
can I jump in?
Yeah, no,
I think it's brilliant, and I love this because I hope we get hate for this play because the casuals out there will be like, "Oh, you Kevin Knox, ha 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 ha."
How do you get hate? It's $15. What's that hate?
What his dad said is, it's a Ferrari that never got any miles on it. That's what a young guy needs, especially a young scorer. He needs to get his shots up, right? And the way the Knicks play, their offense is anemic. Randall and Barrett only go left. They get it into like the high post with Randall. They take forever to shoot the ball. They hold it like they just got blown out by Charlotte. They're just an anemic offense if you guys watch them play. And now you go to Atlanta where it's a little bit more run and gun. It's a little bit more fluid. You don't have the pressure of every single shot has to be the perfect shot, right? In college, Cage, every shot has to be a perfect shot, right? Your coach will pull you out if you take a shot too early in the shot clock. That's kind of how Thibs runs his team. You got to get the right shot in his offense. Atlanta, it's so fluid. You have Trae Young, running and gunning. So why do I say that? This is a guy that could score, man. This is a guy that could play. And I agree with you. Like, he just never got any run. And what's the difference between him and Reddish? Reddish got a little more run in Atlanta, but it's not like he wasn't impressive there.
Right, and yet Reddish, people go nuts. People go nuts on Reddish. The prices are insane. Listen, I got to tell you guys, right? So I think this is more an indictment of the Knicks than it is of Kevin Knox, right? And I think maybe new scenery, maybe a new place to play, and who knows if he even stays there. That might actually be good for him. And you're getting in at literally like pennies for this card, right? You can't grade a card PSA 10 for how much you can get a silver PSA 10 Kevin Knox for. And yeah, guys, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you've watched him and he said, "I'm not betting on this. I'm not betting on the guy who had his chance and didn't do well there," right? But I mean, there are some good players that are playing now. Tim Hardaway Jr., Kristaps Porzingis, right? Wilson Chandler was a heck of a player. Channing Frye, heck of a player. David Lee was a heck of a player. Why am I naming all these guys? Here's a fun little trivia piece for you as somebody who was a Knicks fan growing up. Do you know the last time the Knicks signed a first-round pick of theirs to a second contract? Somebody who came off their rookie deal and signed it. So, I mean, this should tell, right? Like Knox is another one of these guys on that list, right? But the last player, right? First round picks that haven't landed a second contract. Not talking about a third contract. You're talking about they're on their rookie deal, and these are first round picks with the Knicks. The last player to finish their rookie contract and then sign a contract with the team. So this should tell you about how the team develops their young players. This should tell you about, you understand, right? So who was it?
Dude, this is a huge stat. I don't David Lee? We talked about him a few days ago.
Nope. Lee was 2005. He was a rookie for them in 2005 with Channing Frye, and they didn't sign either of them after their rookie contracts. That's a
Houston?
No, not that far back, but almost a year later. 1994, Charlie Ward.
Bullshit. 1994.
Charlie Ward was the last first-round pick of the Knicks who signed a second contract with the Knicks. 96, they signed
That's
three.
shameful.
They had 3 first-round draft picks. John
Cage,
Wallace,
straight
Walter
up.
McCarty, Dante Jones. You had 97 was John Thomas. 99 was Frederick Weiss. 2000, Donnell Harvey. 2002, Nene. They had Michael Sweetney in 03, Channing Frye and David Lee in 05, Ronaldo Balkman and Marty Collins in 06. 07 was Wilson Chandler. 08 was Gallinari. 09, Jordan Hill. 11, Iman Shumpert. 13, Tim Hardaway Jr. 15, Porzingis. 17, Frankie Ntilikina. 2018, now Kevin Knox. Does RJ Barrett or Obi Toppin break the string for them? Who knows what the Knicks are going to do with them by then, how much the franchise will have ruined them. But it's just another little factor that I played into the Kevin Knox thing. Not like any of those guys turned into all-stars. I mean, some of them were also, but not like any of them turned into world beaters. But, is it Kevin Knox's fault? Or is this a team that doesn't know what to do with their first-round draft picks?
I mean,
maybe it's a little both.
When you asked me that question, I thought 2010, 2011 would be as far back as you could go. That means one in 10 years, which is 1 in 10 years. I went back to 2010. It was 1994.
1994. That was the last. Charlie Ward. He wasn't even that good.
That's bad, man. That's really bad.
That's the franchise. So I give Kevin Knox, a 22-year-old who, when he had playing time, a pass when balanced against 30 years of franchise futility and inability to develop their own first-round draft picks.
I'm speechless.
It's a real stat.
27 years.
Yeah, it's a real stat. They haven't signed him to a second contract beyond the rookie contract. None of them.
This is NBA. This isn't football. This is NBA. This is all right, you go watch this guy play. He's good. I'm going to draft this guy. This is going to be our guy. And they've had high draft picks. This is not.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. A little bit speechless, Cage.
But I mean, these are the kind of things that come out. They're the kind of things that come out when people are trying to balance that trade. And look, I mean, I did not find it. I did some research. I did not find a single article that said that the Hawks won that trade. Not a single one. Everybody said this is lopsided. Reddish is going to be great for the Knicks. He's a much better player. Now, how much of that is just, one more year of sitting on the bench for Kevin Knox than there was for Cam Reddish? I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, Reddish is a good player. I just remember it wasn't that long ago where people were ripping boxes and happy to get Kevin Knox. Seriously.
I mean, dude, he's got all the tools. 6'7", kind of like a 3-and-D player. I think he could turn into that. I mean, he's 22 years old. He's so young. I mean, Jason Tatum, what is he? He's 18 now. So,
very funny. No, but the point is, guys, you don't have to go really deep in your pocket and spend $134 on an Optic Gold 10 auto. As deep as $134.
Can I explain why?
No, that's great. I'm glad you did.
Because when you're going for a hit like this is one where if it pays off, I want it to pay off right. And the way golds are tracking today, if this pays off the way that it could, that's a $5,000 card, right?
Yeah, for $134.
Versus a silver, okay, you might get it for 15 and it goes to 250. So that's why I kind of went gold is so popular. I was curious, how much would a gold Kevin Knox? I'm gonna see how much the Prism is. Okay, I love it.
I think it's a great play. Listen, we're trying to do something different, right? Because the hobby's in a downturn. People write people off. This was almost a symbolic kind of play, right? You write somebody off maybe sometimes a little too early. And some of the hobby people get written off a little too early too. Maybe the guy who was selling cards in Dallas got written off a little too early. So maybe Kevin Knox, maybe we can start looking and having fun with, sort of redemption stories in the hobby as well. Who the heck knows? But it's just kind of where my brain was.
I love it, man. Any final words before we kind of wrap this up and I'm back to my normal digs tomorrow?
No, I'm excited for you. You tell me. What are you most excited for? That much, huh? You're most excited for that much?
I'm not a guy that gets too high. I'm not a guy that gets too low. And I'm excited to get back on a win streak. I like making money. Today we played volleyball cage and we went 8-0 and just wrecked teams. That was fun. I love playing volleyball with my little sister. It was my sister, my cousin, two girls, 18, 19, 18, 22, and two other guys, and we just ran the table. New team. So that was pretty fun.
So the question, though, becomes, did you smash anyone in the face?
Dude, I love
with
winning,
the ball.
Man. I love
winning.
So
is that a yes or is that a no? Did you smash anyone in the face?
We didn't play versus any like kind of amateur girls. But no,
okay,
dude, I love to win, man. Winning is more fun than fun is fun. I believe that. I say it all the time. My team kind of hates me when I go over the top with it. But I just think winning cures all. I really do. When you win, you could take care of your family. When you win, you could take care of your friends. You could live a good life. So I just want to get back on a win streak, Cage.
I'm with you. I mean, I'd love to get back on a win streak as well. And I'm sure Kevin Knox wants to get back on a win streak also. What do you think about that? Dude, you're frozen. I have to take a picture. Oh, no, you didn't. I couldn't get it.
Audio cut out. Let's see.
I couldn't get it. No, you were good there. I couldn't get it, but you were frozen.
Can you hear me, Cage?
Yes, I could hear you. I could hear you. Everything was fine. You were frozen for like 2 seconds.
I can't hear you. I love you. Can you take us home, Cage?
Yeah, man. This was a fun one. Different one. This week, we'll try to bring some more optimism, some fun stuff, some good stories. And, we hope that you guys are having success as well in the hobby. And if you have a success story, maybe send it on to us so that we can share it with the folks, right? Because everybody wants good news. Everybody wants to talk about good news. At least I do. So bring us those good news. Bring us those stories. Keep that hockey talk coming. I'm learning hockey. Keep the soccer talk coming. LAFC Gooner. Keep that stuff coming because, part of what's fun is learning something new. You can go back to your roots, but also learning something new, learning a new sport, a new little area to invest in is always fun as well. So keep bringing me all that fun info. And enjoy the game tonight if you're listening and you're one of the people who listens as soon as we drop this episode.